Let's talk about Israel, if you don't mind, right now. We've heard that 10 British people might have been killed so far in the conflict. We know that generally the number of fatalities is rising alarmingly. The last figure we got is 1,300, but in the last half hour we've been watching Gaza live. I mean, these massive explosions going off left, right and centre. That death rate is going to soar. Some of your constituents might be out there. Just your thoughts on what's happened this weekend and what you think Israel should do about it. Is it right to retaliate in this extremely vehement way? I mean, personally, I think it is. But your thoughts, Tom?
Well, look, I mean, I've been to the border with Gaza. I went there a few years ago, and I went to a kibbutz on the border, and I'm really hoping that everyone I met that day is okay. I fear that some of them may not be, from what I've read in the press. Look, I mean, if terrorists from another country had committed the acts in the UK that they've committed over a weekend in Israel, I would be calling for robust retaliation and for those responsible to be held for account. So clearly Israel are right. They've got a right to self-defense, absolutely right. But at the same time, I think we also need to bear in mind, but I think with Hamas, aided and abetted by Iran, I think there is an agenda here, a wider agenda, which is to foster instability and war and conflict in that part of the world. Yes, Israel have got a right to retaliate, they've got a right to self-defense, but certainly, I really hope, what I don't want to see is human beings dying. That's what I do not want to see. I do not want to see human beings dying. And, whenever we see a bomb going off in the background of a screen, that's probably another few people who have died. So clearly I want that to stop as quickly as possible. But the people of Israel, the government of Israel, they do have a right to stand up for themselves. And what happened over the weekend was utterly appalling. And Hamas are a terrorist organisation. I think it's shocking that you've had people within our own country glorifying what Hamas have done. And I think that is actually against the law. It's against the 2006 Terrorist Act, and I hope that the action will be taken against those individuals. Shameful behaviour, and look how close we came to having a prime minister of this country that was an apologist for Hamas, when they're a terrorist outfit. So yeah, I mean, Israel have got a right to defend themselves. What happened is shocking, is appalling, but I don't want to, what is it we all don't want to see? We don't want to see human beings dying. We don't want to see a powder keg explode in the Middle East. Absolutely. That is not in any of our interests.
Totally. Jeremy Corbyn, of course, among those who've refused to condemn Hamas for their appalling, disgusting, inhuman raid. Last question, Tom. Talking of the apologists back here in Britain, don't you think that the state broadcaster, the BBC, should be calling Hamas terrorists and not refusing to call them? They are actively refusing to call them terrorists, preferring to label them militants. Well, yeah, they're militants, but they're also terrorists. What do you think the BBC is playing at by refusing, declining to categorise Hamas as terrorists?
I just find it, I've read about this, I just find it a bit weird, to be honest. I mean, Hamas have been listed by the UK government as being a terrorist organisation. So quite what the BBC's reluctance is to label them what they are labelled by law, I honestly couldn't tell you. But I have concerns about the BBC. I'm on record for wanting the licence fee to go. So none of this comes as much of a surprise. But I do find it a bit weird. Why is it that they're not prepared to call Hamas terrorists? They're terrorists. They're a terrorist organisation by law. What could their possible reasoning be for not calling them terrorists but calling them militants? Yeah, it is weird, it's odd, and I understand why a few people are a bit perplexed by it.
Apart from terrorists, they could also call them murderers and rapists. Give that one a go as well. Tom, great to talk to you. Thank you very much for your time. Tom Hunt there.